looks like we're live on the Gun News Network. Thanks for joining me. And let me see if I can pop out that chat and give the embed link. Because we do this live on air. And you can hear my fan going on my computer. Anybody in the chat yet? On the YouTube side? Nope. Alrighty then. Well, let's get started. So yesterday we went to this website, OpenSecrets.org, and we found a bunch of what all the anti-gun groups pay every year and what they paid so far in 2017. And the Americans for Responsible Solutions, that's the Gabby Gifford group. Um, Pretty certain. Oh, they paid out over $250,000. so far this year. So Americans for Responsible Solutions. Remember that. That's just a little recap from yesterday. If you can see those numbers, Everytown for Gun Safety so far in 2017 has put out almost $1,000,000, $910,000. Gabby Gifford's new group is $370,000. The Brady campaign to prevent gun violence is being cheap, only put out $57,000. I guess they're not really dedicated to cause. Sandy Hook Promise, $55,000 seems reasonable considering the amount of people, I guess, that are affiliated with that group. The rest of these are just, I guess, propaganda pieces for anti-gun because they don't spend anything. They probably charge people for things. All right, so we're just going to get rid of that and go into the article I wanted to do today, just one article. We'll go over it, and it's from the Huffington Post, which is pretty much a left-leaning. I wouldn't even say that. It's just a little bit under the New York Times and Washington Post. So here they have an article from September 14th. Before all the stuff went down, it was a decent article and still has some relevant points and mistakes. And you get to see, I'm going to highlight some of the propaganda and the way they feed it to you, the way they feed it to their listeners or people in the middle who think Huffington Post is moderate, real journalism. So here we go. Struggling gun industry looks to Congress to make silencers the next big thing. It's pretty funny how they worded that because it's like we just suddenly decided we want silencers like this year. Like we haven't been fighting for that since forever, I guess. Amid a Trump slump, the firearms industry seeks laxer rules on suppressor sales. Congressional lawmakers will vote. This is from September 14th, so keep that in mind. Congressional lawmakers will vote in the coming weeks on legislation to roll back long-standing regulations on gun silencers. Most gun owners support the current restrictions and have little interest in undoing them. According to polling. Who's doing this polling? I didn't get polled. Did you guys get polled? Are you guys in the chat? Is anybody listening? No? Are you guys on gun channels? Okay. No sound at all. Okay, now we got sound. Yeah. I was silent during the setup. There's a moment of silence for the death of the HuffPo. Nick Wing. That guy doesn't look like a wing, but okay. Moving along. Who's doing this polling anyway? But there's another constituency that clearly stands to benefit from the push. Like everybody stands to benefit. People that don't even shoot because now they don't have to hear gunshots. Sales at gun companies have plummeted in the first 8 months of Donald Trump's presidency. The new measures would open up revenue stream potentially worth hundreds of millions of dollars each year. For the last 80 years, the sales of silencers, also known as suppressors, have been closely monitored under the National Firearms Act, where they are classified alongside weaponry like machine guns and sawed-off shotguns. Federal law requires any prospective buyer of a silencer to first pay a $200 transfer fee. No, it's a tax. See, they make it sound like, oh, it's just a transfer fee, a $200 transfer fee. It's a tax. They're taxing you for a right. Submit to fingerprinting and pass an FBI background check, a process that can take around a year to complete. All right, well, at least they got that right. We'll give HuffPo a teeny bit of credit there. Republican lawmakers and the gun lobby have been working over the past few years to eliminate these barriers. The Hearing Protection Act, introduced in both House and Congress earlier this year, seeks to make the process of buying silencers similar to that of buying a handgun. Under the measure, individuals in many states would be able to purchase a silencer from a gun store, another federally licensed dealer. After passing an instant background check, gun control advocates say the proposed law would still leave certain unlicensed sellers able to sell the devices without any background check. Now, that part doesn't make any sense to me because I don't know what's in the bill, but I don't know if there's private sales of silencers or they can only be transferred through federally through licensed dealers or what. But who cares? If it's legal in your state, it should be up to the state. The Hearing Protection Act has been wrapped up into a larger legislative package called the Sportsman Heritage and Recreational Enhancement SHARE Act, which is expected to get a House vote as early as this month. The GOP-controlled House appears likely to pass the legislation. It faces a much less certain future in the Senate. Much of the debate over silencers has so far centered around safety. Supporters of the legislation say they're working to protect the eardrums of hunters and recreational shooters who routinely expose themselves to high-volume gunfire. Opponents believe losing the regulations would be dangerous because criminals could obtain silencers more easily as well. All right, well, they're either stupid or being dishonest because criminals, as we all know, could just make a silencer. Or if they don't want their gunshots heard, they improvise. They use pillows, potatoes, or they just build their own high-end silencer if they really want it, but they don't. Under current law, silencers hardly ever factor into routine U.S. gun violence, according to the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms and Explosives. To gun enthusiasts, this shows the device could be made more widely available without hurting public safety. To opponents, it proves an effectiveness of regulations. Well, that's bullshit to the opponents. The opponent's position is bullshit, obviously. I mean, they might as well just say to thinking people, it shows the device could be made more widely available without hurting public safety. And to morons, it proves effective. It proves the effectiveness of its regulations, or dishonest. We won't even go to ad hominems. Won't call them morons. We'll say to the dishonest, it proves the effectiveness of the regulations. There's less agreement over the ergonomics and deregulating silencers. Economics, not ergonomics. There's less disagreement over the economics of deregulating silencers. People on both sides of the issue acknowledge there's massive, large, untapped market for suppressors, which cost anywhere from a few $100s to over $1,000 for high-end models. As of February, some 1.3 million silencers, those things that nobody wants, and they took a poll and everything. Nobody wants it, so everybody likes the regulations. But 1.3 million silencers were registered in the U.S., according to the Justice Department. That's nearly 400,000 more than in 2015. So that's just in 1 year alone. But with an estimated 300 million firearms in the hands of U.S. civilians, that's a little outdated. I'd say there's more like a half a billion. There's still a huge potential for market growth if the SHARE Act passes. I think a safe bet, these are quotes, they're quoting somebody. I think a safe bet is that if suppressor industry could multiply by 10 times, Knox Williams, president of American Suppressor Association, told HuffPost. This lobbying group, founded in 2011, has been active in drafting pro-silencer legislation at both the state and federal level. In 2016, ASA blog post says Michael Williams, the organization's former general counsel, was lead author of the Hearing Protection Act. Silencers surged in popularity over the last few years of Barack Obama's presidency. Despite the tight restrictions, industry experts think that many gun owners rushed to buy silencers before July 2016 when the ATF rule changed. I mean, I think there was a little rush, but we didn't find out about the rule change. People didn't find out about the rule change until they gave you like a half a year to get your things in. So 6 months. That's not all through Obama's presidency. That's 6 months of his presidency, probably his last year, right? Yeah, 2016. ATF rule change add more background checks and registration requirements for the equipment. They don't say anything about why you need that stuff for a trust and the people on your trust. Sales continue to spike in the run-up to the 2016 election as gun enthusiasts stock up on weaponry in anticipation of victory by Democratic nominee Hillary Clinton, who they believed was likely to advocate for stricter gun firearms laws. Some suppressor manufacturers capitalized on the increased demand. Utah-based Silencer Co., the largest maker of suppressors in the U.S., saw its sales grow 600% between 2014 and 2016. A representative told Huffington Post in March the company sold 100,000 suppressors in 2016, almost all to civilians. But silencer sales, along with firearm sales more broadly, have experienced a rapid decline in recent months, a Trump slump. Yeah, well, that's just the way the cookie crumbles, I guess. When Trump won and said he wasn't going to push tougher regulation, you saw demand plummet, and it really hasn't recovered yet, said Kevin Cassidy, a financial analyst at Moody's. I don't know what Moody's is. For corporations like American Outdoor Brands, formerly known as Smith & Wesson, the overall downturn has been devastating. In a September earnings call, the company reported a $100 million drop in firearms revenue compared with the same quarter last year, a decrease in nearly 50% according to the Guardian's Lou Beckett, Lois Beckett, whatever. The Guardian, another left leaning, biased publication. Its stock price has spiraled down to 40% over the last 3 months. During the earnings, during that earnings call, American Outdoor Brand President and CEO James Debney suggested the corporation's recent purchase of Gemtech, a suppressor manufacturer, was cause for optimism, especially in light of the possible congressional action to make silencers easier to buy. We view the acquisition as somewhat opportunistic, allowing us to enter the suppressor category prior to the potential favorable changes in legislation and at a time when the market is particularly soft, Debney said, according to The Guardian. But investment in silencers, but investment in the silencer business may not pay off with Congress help. Sales have been sliding at a number of the largest suppressor manufacturers and industry leaders, suggesting many prospective buyers are holding off on purchasing in anticipation of the regulatory rollback. Some companies have met the dip with mass layoffs. Silencer Co. let go of hundreds of employees in February, and other companies, such as Wisconsin-based Griffin Armament, have also reportedly downsized. So the firearms industry could use a boost. In a press release this week, the National Rifle Association, the NRA, called for the silencer measure of its top legislation priorities. Plain and simple, the bill is a giveaway to the gun lobby. Who said that? That's John Feinblatt, president of Everytown for Gun Safety. So they got to stick a Bloomberg quote in there for no reason. An anti-quote at that. So it's still not biased, guys. We're on the right track. Gun control advocates call the timing of the forthcoming vote anything but coincidental. Gun companies see their it's not I don't think it's the Trump slump as much as it's time to get this through because we have all the chance in the world now more than ever before, but maybe I don't think they could have foreseen this coming, and this is their motivation. The Huffington Post is retarded, and they're spewing this propaganda to, your average everyday Joe. Gun companies see their sales plummeting under the administration, and that's why the gun lobby is trying to bail them out and make it easy for anyone to buy a silencer without a background check. Even though they just told you all these background checks you got to go through to get one. Even after the bill passes, you still have to take a background check, just like buying a handgun. And this was said by John Feinblatt. So he's the king of propaganda because obviously he's the president of Everytown. President of Everytown for Gun Safety. In a statement to the Huffington Post. Plain and simple, this bill is a giveaway to the gun lobby. Its sole purpose is to increase the gun industry's profits, even at the expense of public safety. Because silencers are so dangerous. Some Democratic opponents of the bill have similarly accused its supporters of kowtowing to the gun lobby. The National Rifle Association thinks Congress owes them more armor-piercing rounds and on the streets. And today our Republican colleagues showed they're happy to do what they're told, said Rep. Paul Grijalva, Arizona, whoever that is. the top Democrat on the House of Natural Resources Committee, which voted to advance the SHARE Act on Wednesday. Well, that's good. Even though this is an old article, but I've been here since 2003, and passing these bills in the name of helping sportsmen is one of the most cynical excuses I've ever heard. Is that what he said? Let's read this again. All right, I guess this is his quote. So he's a douchebag. Although deregulating the silencers would undoubtedly increase firearm profits, it's unclear how substantially it would affect an industry that does billions of dollars of business each year. It could help ease some of the pain in the industry, but it's not going to fundamentally change the trajectory of gun and ammunition sales. They'll still be under pressure, as Cassidy, the financial analyst, said. Just because lawmakers are acting in a way that would benefit the firearms industry does not mean they're doing it for that purpose, said Williams, president of the American Suppressor Association. He argued that Republican voters support looser gun laws and that they support Trump in part because he vowed to pursue a pro-gun agenda. Williams also claimed that around 250,000 people had sent messages to Congress on the issue deregulating silencers using a form of his organization's website. While this may be true for some areas of gun policy, polling suggests that silencers. Okay, let's read this real carefully. While this may be true for some areas of gun policy, polling suggests the silencer issue is far from settled, even among firearms enthusiasts like you, me, people watching this chat. Where did I leave off? In a survey of gun owners conducted earlier this year, nearly three-quarters said they wouldn't back looser restrictions on silencers. Now get this, guys. The poll, where'd it go? I don't know if you guys can see that or what. The poll was conducted by the Americans for Responsible Solutions. Who is that? A gun violence prevention group launched by former Rep. Gabrielle Giffords. So that's where they're getting their polling for how gun owners don't want it. They don't want looser restrictions because Gabby Gifford's group said so. It's like saying Moms Demand Action said so. Even if the SHARE Act ends up being a financial boom to the gun industry, Williams sees no problem with that. Yeah, I don't see a problem with it either. It's good for the economy. It's good for my ears. It's good for my Instagram pictures. Good for guns. It's good for freedom. Our companies definitely want to make money. Every company wants to make money. But I find it curious and interesting that so many of these legislators are trying to turn that into a bad thing. He said, at the end of the day, these are companies that are providing strictly American-made products, creating hundreds, if not thousands, of American jobs. And that's it. And there you go. There's your gun news for the day. I want you guys to like, share, and subscribe. And I hope you enjoyed this one, even though I only did one article and didn't really do a lot of transitions. I'm still working that all out. There's got to be a better way than what went on yesterday. So thanks for watching, and catch you guys later.